Good afternoon. I'm Diane Rutherford at the 7 News Digital News Desk, and welcome to 7 Afternoon. It's arguably the coldest time of the year, and that means utility bills are higher now than the rest of the year. Joining me today is Jared Paventi. He's the Strategic Communications Manager with National Grid. We're going to be talking about the rising cost to light and heat our homes, delivery charges, ways to lower our bills, and how we can get help to pay our bills. So, Jared, thank you very much for joining us today. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me, Diane.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the rising cost of heating
Mhm.
and lighting our homes. Everybody that I talk to about National Grid, they say, oh my goodness, my January bill knocked me over. Why are utility bills so high?
Mhm. Well, there's a combination of factors, and especially at this time of year, we are seeing that rise because of the of energy to heat our homes. Truly, winter bill increases thus far this year have largely matched the forecasts we've been expecting. We issued a forecast at the beginning of the fall to let customers know that what was coming, and we determined that we were going to be seeing an increase for natural gas customers of about $17 year over year for the 5 month winter heating season, and about $20 year over year for the electric use. Now that's all based on what we consider to be a typical customer, typical use. So for natural gas, that's about 713 therms of natural gas. For electricity, that's about 600 kilowatt hours. When you parallel this with actual usage, because it has been so cold out, we've been inside more, we've been using more energy, and as a result, costs have gone up.
So let's talk about another thing that people see on their bills, and they have a lot of questions about the
Mhm.
delivery charge. I know from my bill personally, it's more than half what I'm paying
Mhm.
for to heat and light my home. What are delivery charges?
So think of the delivery charge most broadly as your share of getting the electricity or natural gas you use to your home or business. So National Grid maintains and owns a vast energy distribution network and a vast energy transportation network. So think most broadly about where you are up in the North Country. We obtain power from the hydroelectric dams on the St. Lawrence River. It runs through transmission lines from the river down towards the Watertown area, connects into our transmission substations, which then break it off into smaller lines, which go to the distribution substations, which then feed the lines that go down our streets and in our neighborhoods. So owning all of that costs money. Owning all of that requires a great deal of maintenance to make sure it's operating at optimal efficiency. So when you think about how your delivery charges are calculated, I like to explain to people that you should think about it like driving on the New York State Thruway. If you were to go from Syracuse to Utica, I think it costs a couple dollars. But if you were to go from Syracuse to Albany, you pay more. And if you drive from Syracuse to Albany and then head south towards New York, you pay even more than that. So it's really truly based on your usage. The more kilowatt hours of electricity you use, the more of a share of that delivery system you pay for. The more therms of natural gas you use, same thing, you pay a higher delivery rate. So, yes, your delivery charges right now are higher than your supply charges because the the operation of the system is quite expansive and quite expensive. But there's a couple things to note in there. If you take a look at your energy bill, you do see that where it breaks down between supply and delivery. And about 62% of your bill is delivery charges. But if you take a look underneath that and where the money goes from there, about a quarter of it goes to our operating costs. So that's the day-to-day maintenance, repair, and operation of our electric system. Uh, we're on this call right now because electricity is fueling the studio and fueling my home and all the points in between to get the signal back and forth. So about a quarter of that goes to operating costs. We we have about 8 to 9% of it that goes into storms. So, for instance, a couple of weeks ago, right before New Year's, we had a vast windstorm in upstate New York. And that required us to bring in crews from all across the Northeast, Canada, and the Midwest to help restore and repair all that damage. So, our storm restoration funds are in a separate budget. And when we have a storm, that budget is utilized for that. We have what amounts to about 11% in what is called capital investments. These are the big construction projects. I don't think that it's lost on anyone that New York State's economic growth is built on the back of the ability to provide energy to companies. We've seen this across the state. It's the reason why we're hearing more and more about nuclear development, particularly in the North Country and along in the areas that are near Jefferson County, whether it's along the St. Lawrence River or Lake Ontario. We are investing money in our transmission system so that way when we have that generation, we have transmission lines that are bringing it to our customers. You're seeing it in the reports that are coming out from New York's grid manager, the New York Independent System Operator, that says we need to get more generation in New York State in order to maintain reliability for our customers. So we have about 11% of every delivery charge is invested in those capital projects to expand and to grow our grid. Beyond that, there's about 17-18% that are state mandated charges. So you have energy efficiency and affordability programs, which we provide to our customers, and we're happy to do that, but they're done at the mandate of New York State. We have other state programs and other taxes that we pay. That makes up about 8.5% of the bill. Those are funds that come into the company through the delivery charge and go right back out the door to the state, to different communities. So if you were to look at the bill, both supply and delivery together, it works out to about 55 to 56% of your bill is not dictated by National Grid of your electric bill. That is, those are funds that come in and go straight back out. The door, whether it's to customers or to taxes or to the energy supplier, in this case, the energy generator. So looking at your energy bill, there's a couple different ways you can look at it. A lot of your energy bill is pass through. These are charges that pass straight through the company. Within your delivery bill, there are, within the delivery charges, you do have quite a bit of money that passes through either by state mandate or as taxes, but it's also very much an opportunity, not an opportunity so much as our duty, I guess is the better word, of taking care of the system that we have.
Obviously, you're in business and you're in business to make money. How much money does National Grid make?
National Grid does turn a profit, and I'm gonna put an asterisk there because we are in New York State a regulated utility. So the New York State Public Service Commission is our regulator, and every few years we submit a rate case to the Public Service Commission, and this case, this proposal outlines what we plan to spend customers' money on, whether it's growing our system, whether it's operations and maintaining the infrastructure we have, whether we're looking at developing new customer programs or doing large scale hiring, as well as outlines what we're going to charge in order to make those programs happen. In there, we are allowed to make a profit. The company is allowed to make a profit. I'd have to look up what our profit is permitted to be this time around, but it's generally between 8 and 10%. The profit is not about spending lavishly. The profit is about maintaining business. Much in the same way, when you go to buy a home, a bank looks at your income and looks at your credit worthiness before they issue you a mortgage and tell you what your ceiling is or what you've been pre-approved for. National Grid, when it performs work, needs to secure credit. We need to secure financing. And what a profit does is it shows that we're a healthy company. It shows that we are bringing money in and that we are exceeding, we are bringing revenue in that is more than our expenses, and that we're a healthy company and we are credit worthy. When you consider that we're going to be doing work on substations in the North Country that a single project could cost $100 million. It's not as if that cash is just on hand where we say, okay, we're going to take this $100 million out of this account and we're going to pay for this substation. We secure funding that allows us to spread that cost out over time, just as other companies do. And we spread those costs out for our customers over time as we recover that. So having a profit shows our lenders that we are a good risk. We are credit worthy, and that it helps us to secure the best possible lending terms. So that way we can make the best use of our customer dollars. We can continue to work in a cost effective manner and get the work done that needs to be done to maintain our system.
Now, going back to delivery charges, we promoted this interview, and a viewer called us and wants to know something. He said that he lives in a building with 4 apartments in it, so he's one of the tenants, and the building has 1 transmission line going into the building. However, he and the 3 other tenants each have delivery fees. And of course, we said that that makes up almost half of their budgets, if not more. He's wondering how it's possible that you have 1 transmission line, but everybody has to pay a delivery charge.
Mm-hmm. Well, so consider that one wire that is tying into the building, that distribution line that is coming from a transformer on a utility pole, which is then carried by a larger scale distribution wire, which then goes back to a substation, which then builds back to possibly a sub-transmission line to another substation, to a transmission line, which goes back to the generation station. All those assets that help bring power to where you live, you have a share within. So it's not just about the equipment that attaches a home or a business to the network. It's about the energy that it carries, and there's a share to that. When you have a line connecting a multi-family dwelling or a multi-business building carrying X amount of energy, you're still part of that line, and you could be using Y amount of that X. I don't obviously know the numbers off the top of my head, or can speak to this customer specifically, but there is a cost to bringing that level of energy through that network to the individual's home. It's not as if I live in a home. My next door neighbor we each have lines coming to our home. We each have very similar delivery charges because we use a similar amount of energy. and it comes down really and truly to that, to the energy use, um, of the share of that, as opposed to the amount of equipment that attaches to your home. Much in the same way, when if you're a cable TV subscriber, you don't pay necessarily for the amount of it's the opposite. It's not like a cable TV subscriber. You don't pay for the amount of television you watch. You pay for the service coming to your home. This is why I like the easiest and cleanest way for me to try to explain it. It really is like driving a toll road. You pay for the mileage you consume. You pay for the amount of the road you use, and that's your share of the use of that roadway.
But using that analogy, you have four people in one vehicle, they pay one
Mhm.
toll. I guess this person is asking, hey, four of us live in the same building, all of us get, the electricity from one transmission line. Why are we each paying four different tolls when we should just be paying one and sharing it, splitting the difference?
Because they're not. If they're each getting a bill with their own delivery charge, that means they're each in their own individual car. If the person in apartment A is using, is using a lot of electricity, and the person in apartment B is very minimal, they're not paying the same amount. Again, it's paying the share of the use, not their share of the equipment. It's everyone who's a utility customer pays a base rate. You pay basically it's the connection, the base rate that allows you to be connected to the system, and then there is a declining per, say, kilowatt hour rate, of use above and beyond that. So the more you use, the less you pay per unit, over the course there, it is based on your usage. So if the person in apartment A has their TV on 24 hours a day and it's running a lot of computer equipment, and the person in apartment B, say, travels a lot and isn't home as much, person in apartment B is going to pay less than the person in apartment A because of their share of the usage on that network. The network is there. It's a matter of how much you use, based on that. That's why my analogy of, if you're driving the throughway, the longer you drive on the roadway, the longer the further the further you drive on the wrong way, the more you use of it, and you pay that share of. The people in apartment A and apartment B are not in the same car. They're in different cars. They just happen to live in the same building with one wire going in, but that one wire splits off to 4 meters that measure the energy that is being used individually.
So essentially what you're
I'm
saying
assuming if
is,
you're telling me, assuming, and this is, what you're telling me is they're each getting a bill and they're each paying a delivery charge. Yes, that's what it would be. Is that they're each paying based on the measure that is being recorded by the meter.
so you're,
Sorry,
you're
meter.
essentially saying that a delivery charge is directly related to how much energy you use. The less
Yes,
energy you
because
use, the less of a delivery charge.
yes. So
Okay.
it's you pay for the supply, and then the share of that supply, the share of the delivery system that had to carry that supply to you. That's what the charge is based on, largely.
All right, well, let's shift gears and talk a little bit about how people can reduce their bills, whether it's through
Mhm.
conserving energy or doing something else. How do people maybe bring their bills down if they want to?
Well, that's something that I think that applies for every household. I'm talking to you here, Diane. I'm sitting in my house. I'm wearing a coat underneath it. I have a quarter zip underneath it. I have a long sleeve T-shirt because I'm trying to do what I can around here to keep my bill down, and it's not easy, especially when you have kids and they leave a room and just leave the lights on. But when we talk about energy efficiency, there are the steps you can take around the home, that are, there's a lot of no cost things you can do. First off, take a look at your thermostat, figure out where you can achieve the balance of comfort and safety. I'm not telling anyone to turn the heat off in their home or to lower it to a point where they're going to be unsafe. But finding the point where they are comfortable, where they are safe, that they're not um, risking any sort of illness or injury because they've turned their heat down too far. For every 1 degree you lower your thermostat, you can save 1 to 3% on your bill. So if you're keeping it at around 68 degrees, maybe consider 67. I will be honest with you. I'm married. My wife would love it if I kept the heat at around 70 or 71. We keep it at around 67 or 68 because it's both safe. We can still be comfortable in the house, and it helps keep our bills down. Something else that is a no cost step you can take is setting your ceiling fan to rotate clockwise at a low speed. A lot of people use ceiling fans during the summer to help circulate air and keep a room cool. But during the winter, nearly every ceiling fan has a little switch on the top, right on the stem there, where you can flip it and it'll turn the paddles on the ceiling fan the other direction. And what this does is it pushes the warm air down. As we know, learned in school, hot air rises. Well, if you switch the way a ceiling fan works during the summer is the ceiling fan runs counterclockwise. It helps pull that hot air up and push the cool air down that's down below. It helps to circulate it. But when you're in a situation like wintertime where you want that hot air to be closer to you, what you can do is hit that switch, run it clockwise, run it at a low speed. And what it does is it's going to take that hot air that's risen and push it towards the walls. So that way it pushes the heat down along the walls, and it does so without creating a draft. So you don't feel like you're getting a chill while the fan is running. That can help save some money. There are some little things that do cost a few bucks you can do. For instance, ceiling drafts. A lot of people live in homes that are older and may have some drafty windows. If you go to home improvement store or a big box retailer, you can get window film that attaches to the window frame and help to keep the drafts coming through, say, a single pane window. If you have, if you're able to get a seal for your door, whether it's replacing the threshold at the bottom or look at a new seal that goes around the interior of the door. A little bit of foam there can help seal the door tight when it closes and is locked and prevent more air from slipping out. Sealing drafts, if you feel confident enough to go about it with a caulk gun and sealing up some drafts around the window frames, you could be looking at up to 15% a year, saving up to 15% on your bills. Another low cost option is during the day, opening up your blinds, opening up your curtains to let all that ambient light in. And ambient light, when it comes through the window, will come through as heat. When the sun shines on a cold January day, there's a reason why dogs and cats like to lay in the sun, because it's warm. If you can let that heat in, and then as the sun goes down, close your curtains, close your blinds to trap that heat within, and that's another step you can take. And if you have the means and you're technologically savvy, looking into a smart thermostat. Smart thermostats can be programmed. They learn your patterns. They learn when you're home. Sometimes it's a little creepy when they know you're home. But one of the things that it can do is save you about 10% on your heating and cooling costs. And even if you don't get a smart thermostat, you just get one that programs. So that way the heat kicks off when you leave in the morning to go to work, and it kicks back on when you come home. That can save you 4 to 6% on your heating bill. So there are some steps out there you can take that don't cost a ton of money, but pay some real dividends going down the road.
All right, let's talk about folks who simply cannot pay their bills.
Yeah,
There is assistance out there, not just through
absolutely.
the state of New York, for example, with
Mhm.
HEAP, the Heating Energy Assistance Program, but there's also help through National Grid. Tell us more about that.
Sure. So I will touch on heat for a second. As the government shutdown has lifted from the fall, HEAP is open, is accepting applications. Funds are available. So if you are eligible, you should certainly consider applying for HEAP. HEAP will run until the funds are exhausted, and that provides a monthly voucher to offset the costs. You find yourself in an emergency situation, contacting your local DSS office to get an emergency HEAP grant. That usually comes to be available once you've exhausted your regular HEAP allocation for the year. So an emergency HEAP grant is going to be available for customers to utilize. Above and beyond that, National Grid has something it calls its Energy Affordability Program. This is a program we provide to our customers that provides an automatic bill credit each month for customers who meet income eligibility guidelines. Automatically puts the credit on your bill, and all you have to do annually is just submit your documentation that you qualify for HEAP or SNAP or SSI or another excuse me another subsidy from that is administered by the state or federal government. I know you probably have some viewers from further north in the Messina area. If you are on some sort of if you're on a tribal benefits program, there's people who are qualified that are on veterans benefits programs. So there's a number of different ways to get into the EAP, the Energy Affordability Program that National Grid manages. And all you have to do to find out about that is give us a call at 1-800-272 and ask to speak to a consumer advocate. And I'll just take a second here, Diane, and talk about our consumer advocates. We have a team of professionals at National Grid that all they do, their entire job is about working with customers who are income challenged, who are financially challenged, who are experiencing all the harsh realities of the economy. And this team helps them to work through all the different programs that are available to help them afford their energy use. They will often be at community events in and around the area. If you see like a senior fair or a community fair, oftentimes they have a table and they're there to talk about qualifying for these programs and helping people navigate their bills. So there are a number of different programs available. We do have, a few different emergency programs above and beyond that emergency HEAP as well. We have something that we call our Care and Share Energy Fund. This is a program that facing a shutoff notice and has exhausted all of their HEAP and their emergency HEAP vouchers. They can apply to this fund and receive an emergency voucher to offset their energy costs as well. And again, all of these programs can be accessed by getting in touch with our consumer advocates at 800-642-4272.
And also, they can get more information from your website. Can you give us your
Sure.
website address as well?
Sure. If you go right to nationalgridus.com, the front page feature will be about all the programs that we have available in upstate New York. Or if you go, you can even skip right ahead. If you go to ngrid.com/here to help, HERETOHELP, ngrid.com here to help will get you right to our programs, as well as more of that energy efficiency information that we talked about a few minutes ago, and ways to reach out to our consumer advocates to learn more about what is available.
Jared Paventi, Strategic Communications Manager with National Grid. Thank you so much for your time. I know your time is valuable, so thank you again for joining us. And to all of our viewers out there, thank you for joining us for 7 Afternoon. I'm Diane Rutherford.